Should a believer ever vote for a non-believer? How should Christians vote? We're going to be talking about this a whole lot. I'm writing down what people say. I love the callers. I learn a lot from our amazing callers of Truth Talk Live listeners. So thank you all for listening. Have you voted? How did you vote?
Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it, I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network,
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak
Your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
Okay, it's the elephant in the room, or is it the donkey in the room? Because I got my sticker. I voted. I just posted it to my story on Instagram and Facebook, which, by the way, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube have been down all day up until a couple hours ago. Did you know that? But let me tell you what hasn't been down. The Truth Network radio. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Robbie, for calling in earlier, a listener in Charlotte who heard, or Raleigh, who heard a little something, and we got it corrected. We love it when our listeners call, and if you hear the same program as yesterday, call us. We'll send you some swag. We're grateful. If we're off the air, call us. If you hear a little double audio problem, we're trying to cast that demon out here. It's horrible. It's been happening. We got engineers working around the clock to fix that. If you hear it, call us, text us, let us know what station you're listening to, and we'll send you some goodies. We just love our listeners, and we've been on the air, thank the Lord, even though these massive social media platforms have been shut down all day up until a couple hours ago. How about that? Have you voted? How did you vote? I'm going to give a toll-free number nationwide. The polls are still going. I'd love a report from a roving reporter out there listening to the Truth Network, wherever you are, Ohio, Virginia, anytime, anywhere. Let us know how it's looking. I went in and I gave my ID. Some folks have a hard time with that, but that's the new law. And I voted in about 90 seconds, and I walked right out. How should Christians vote? That's the question of the day, right, Nick? Now, I want to give some background. I'm going to ask a little bit more probing question. And here is this question. Ready? Not just how should Christians vote, because it's election day all over America in the primary, but is it ever okay for a Christian to vote for a non-Christian? Simple question. Some of you are like, Stu, I wonder where you're going with that. Some of you are like, Stu, I know where you're going with that. Well, let's go. Let's go. Should a Christian vote for a non-Christian? Ever? 866-34-TRUTH. 866-348-7884. Should a Christian ever vote for a non-Christian? Tell me why. Tell me why not. How was your voting experience? How did you vote? Who did you vote for and why? You don't have to tell us. If you don't want to give your name, that's fine. But it's election day. This is what the world is talking about. A whole lot going on. A whole lot of people on the ballot. The big North Carolina governor's race, everyone's following that. The two leaders in that are Mark Robinson and Dale Folwell. A big battle there. I've been seeing signs. The rhetoric is heating up. Of course, on the presidential ticket, you got Trump, you got DeSantis, you've got Haley, and some others underneath there. You got on the Democrat side, you got Biden and a couple other smaller folks no one's heard of. And then you've got some other folks on the Democrat side. But here's the question. I'm going to tell you what set this off. Now, Nick, we got to upload Saturday's Truth Talk Weekend. I want to make a podcast of that program. Okay, just make a note. Not like right now. We got a show to do here, But this guy is a step to it guy. I love Nick, Saint Nick, I call him, our awesome producer. But here's why I want to make a podcast, because here's what happened at the Religious Broadcasters Convention last week in Nashville, Tennessee. Let me tell you what happened. They had a presidential forum. They have it every year. And guess who was the speaker? Donald J. Trump. And it created a firestorm of controversy. I mean, there's some pastors like, what is he doing here, this vulgar right-wing guy, divisive guy? Others are like, this is our guy, MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. So how do Christians deal with this? And back to my question, is it okay for a Christian to vote for a non-Christian? Because if Trump's not a Christian, should that be reason you don't vote for him? So I got a message from a friend who was upset about Trump being the speaker at NRB, a keynote speaker. And I promised her I'd have a pro-Trump and an anti-Trump pastor on this radio show. I'm going to do it. We're going to get to the bottom of this. So don't just, it's funny. People hear the word Trump, it just lights a fire. I mean, talk about controversy, talk about ratings, but we're going to talk about it. And she's like, I can't, someone so divisive and so damaging to our country. This is a Christian lady I've known forever. Someone so divisive, so mean and demeaning and this and that. How dare the broadcasters have him? But she was kind and asking, well, what's the story? And I explained to her that the religious broadcasters invite all the candidates. They invited Haley. They invited Trump. They invited Biden. And the only candidate to respond to acquiesce to speaking at the Religious Broadcasters Convention last week in Nashville, Tennessee was Donald J. Trump. So he came, he spoke, and spoke for a long time. It was pretty intense. Said a lot of wild things, talked about God. So I'm kind of like asking you as well, I'm like asking for a friend here, what do you do with that? How do you handle that as a believer? Would you vote for a non-Christian? Should a Christian vote for a non-Christian? What about a non-Christian who's a bit vulgar, a bit arrogant, a bit over the top? Rubs you wrong. That alpha male, you're not jiving with that alpha male. 866-34-TRUTH. 866-348-7884 is the number. What's going on out there? I love some roving reports. Nick, how much time till the break? Can we grab Al real quick, our caller? Do we have time? Okay, we'll take a quick call. And those of you can call in, we'll try to get you before the break. If not, we'll come right back after talking about this. It's an all-election day episode of Truth Talk Live. We got truth on the streets out there. People, I want to hear from you. What's it like at the polls? Has it been light? Has it been heavy? Has anyone been accosted or yelled at or lobbied? What about the ID rule? Do you like that? Let's go to Al, Winston-Salem caller. That's where I voted today. Al, hey, you're on the air. What say you?
Well, yeah. In answer to your question, what I told your call screener was, it depends on what your choices are. If everybody running is a Christian, then you got one issue, okay? If nobody running is a Christian, you have another issue, and then if you've got a mix, you have a third issue. So
okay.
You've got to go with where your personal beliefs are, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Yeah, let me introduce a word here. That's one of my buddies, Steve Noble's. By the way, I called Steve Noble in prepping for today's show. I said, Steve, you've done this for a while on this election day. And he said, well, Stu, you're not going to be as over top as I am. You're going to go telling people how to vote and who to vote for. But he said, a great word is pragmatism. How pragmatic can a believer vote? How pragmatic can a believer be? Because what if the only guy fighting for life, fighting for saving our country, and fighting for freedom and religious liberty is a bit on the vulgar side and a bit on the non-Christian air about him? What do you do if you're a Christian? Do you vote for that person, or do you go vote for Joe Biden?
Well, okay. Do you really want me to answer that?
I want you to give you a second to think about it, Al. If you'll hang on, we'll come right back and we'll talk to you some more.
Absolutely.
We're paying for the call, 866-34-TRUTH. Putting Al on hold and taking your calls after this. How should a Christian vote in the election? How did it go for you out there today? And should a Christian vote for a non-Christian? More coming up right here. Hang on.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Just the name of this individual gets everyone all whipped out of shape. I actually have had Trump people tell others that if you don't vote for him, you're not even a Christian. I mean, you got that extreme. So how do you do it if you're a believer? I'm Stu Epperson. This is Truth Talk Live. Thanks for joining us. If you just popped in, we're talking about how should a Christian vote. Listen, we're going to do a lot of shows on this. I was right in the middle of it because I'm getting messages from my friend like, why are they having Donald Trump speak at the Religious Broadcasters Convention, of all people? And I'm getting and I interviewed Pastor Robert Jeffers on the floor before the Trump message. You heard it, Nick. Nick's going to upload it as a Truth Talk, weekend. Christians and politics maybe, or how do you deal with Trump? I asked him. I interviewed him. I had Eric Metaxas right there. I had this Jack Graham did a great job. We've got all those segments, and so it was lit and it was intense and it was like controversial. And we're dealing with the elephant, or you could say the donkey, in the room today because it's election day, worldwide, nationwide, and that's why we talk about stuff on Truth Talk Live from a biblical perspective. Should a Christian ever vote for a non-Christian? And how do you deal with this? And Al has had a few minutes to Google, to read his Bible, to pray, to fast. I'm sure you fasted, Al, for the last few minutes during the break, and now you're back on with some answers for us, buddy. Jump in here.
Well, I'll let you lead. I've got a lot of very strong opinions, obviously.
Well, at the end of the day, what do you say to believers out there who the election's coming up. If it is Donald Trump on the ballot, and if it is Joe Biden, and they're a believer, they're like, well, this guy's not really a Christian. He's vulgar, and I don't like him. I'm not going to vote for him. I'm going to write Billy Graham or Mickey Mouse or someone else on the ballot and vote for them, and effectively vote for the other guy who wants to kill our young, who wants to destroy our borders and all that stuff. What advice do you give? And also, what about these Trump people who are like, you're not even a Christian if you don't vote for our guy? Like, what about that? Isn't that a little heavy-handed?
Well, I have friends on both sides of the aisle. You know, I'm a conservative. I'll admit that. Can I say who I voted for?
You're welcome to. I mean, we're not forcing it out of you, but go ahead.
I voted for Trump twice, okay? Because I felt he would be the best for our country given the choices we had, and the upcoming choices. And what the thing that you just said is true. Look at our borders. Look at I still believe, like Billy Graham did, that abortion may be our greatest national sin, okay? And everything we can do to preserve life needs to be done. And I believe Donald Trump will do that to the best of his ability, and Joe Biden won't.
Well, some of the godliest Christians I know on that issue alone voted for the main candidate on the Republican side the last couple cycles on that issue alone. Now, there's a whole lot of other things, but if you look just at personality, if you look at vulgarity, if you look at non-Christian, then that opens up a whole other can of worms. And is that really a basis upon which we should vote? Is it ever okay? Again, a question I asked at the beginning of the show, to vote for a non-Christian for politics. Al, I really appreciate your call. He came out and told us just like that on this show. He gave his first name. Wow. 866-348-7884. Should a Christian vote for a non-Christian? Let's talk to Vicki in Springfield, Ohio. Listen to us on the new 106.5 FM. You're on the air, Vicki.
Hi.
Did you get to vote today? Did you vote today? Did you get out there and vote?
We didn't have anything.
Oh my!
I'm in Ohio.
Oh my! She didn't. Okay, North Carolina. We had our. So I'm thinking. Okay, so Ohio. When's your primary?
It's usually in May.
Okay, so it's coming up. Okay, well you're gonna have to call us then. But tell us your thoughts on this, Vicki. I'd love for you to weigh in.
Well, my feelings are: if you can't vote for a non-Christian, what do you do when both candidates are non-Christian?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the main thing that I want to know is, can we vote for a Democrat? Not being hateful to Democrats, but the Democratic Party stands for everything that is against the Bible.
It's tough. I mean, the platform is right there. The platform and the stuff. It's scary, but at the same time, I want if you're in that party, I want you to feel free to call in. We'd love to hear your perspective. But Vicki makes a good point. Who's to say any of them are Christians? You just not vote at all? I mean, it's a stewardship. It's a God-given duty. People have bled and died in the world wars for us to be able to vote in this country. And so just to say, well, I don't like, I got two unbelievers. Both are vulgar. One's a little bit nicer old man. One's a little bit younger, fiery kind of guy that talks smack a little bit too much and is arrogant as all get out. So I just, do I just not vote at all? And Vicki says you gotta weigh that out, I guess, right, Vicki, and try to vote for the lesser of two evils?
Well, I think you need to weigh everything on both people, and I think it's very obvious in this day and age, very possible to have two candidates who are not Christian.
Okay.
But what do you do when both candidates say they're Christian?
Well, they all do. They all. Hey, listen. Exactly. All these cats find religion at election time, right? They find they find that hat. They pop into church. But I appreciate your call, Vicki from Ohio. God bless you. Thanks for weighing in. I got a line open at 866-34-TRUTH. Should you ever vote for a non-Christian for politics? And what about this whole Trump controversy? And what about Trump speaking to the religious broadcasters? What about that? Should they have even countenanced him speaking there? I've got a friend a little upset about that, but I did explain to her that everyone was invited, but only he agreed to come. 866-348-7884. I'm Stu Epperson. This is Truth Talk Live, and we're going to go to Chase, Raleigh, North Carolina. Listen to us on 105.7 FM, a little bit of heaven on 105.7. Chase, you're on the air.
Yes, Stu. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say, I think that when we're really got two choices in front of us. We've got Biden or Trump. We've got to make a decision on who's the most qualified to lead the country. If you take Republican and Democrat, do we think one's a Christian, one's not? Take that out of the way. which one is most qualified? And I think it's just our civic duty because, like you said, I mean, people bled and died so that we would have the right to vote. It's our responsibility to go vote for somebody.
Yeah,
and we think it's going to do a good job.
It's interesting. So you look at qualification, not necessarily the faith part, because that can be a bit nuanced and that can be convenient to the occasion. I mean, Barack Obama said in front of Rick Warren and 1 million people, "I am for marriage between a man and a woman." A month later, he gets elected. A day later, he's like, "We got to get rid of this hateful marriage between a man and a woman stuff." And he brought on this huge homosexual marriage legislation, and completely flipped. He found religion, and then he went and basically blasphemed God's institution of marriage. The day after he got elected. So that's kind of, you got to watch that. But Chase, I appreciate your call, and I think it gets a little tricky because people are saying, well, we got to go to a third party candidate. Well, we got to vote. We got to write someone's name on the ballot because I don't like either one, and he's not the ideal candidate. Well, what do you do about that? I mean, what do you do with that? Because you can write. Listen, you can write anyone's name you want on that ballot. But let me tell you, there's going to be one or two people that are going to be president on the ballot. And so how dumb do you have to be to say, well, I'm going to write a third party? Well, no one's going to. So maybe I'm mistaken on that, Chase, but that's kind of seems a little bit obvious to me.
No, I'm with you. The thing is so much of this country is driven by emotion, and that's primarily why you have such a divided country, because you've got half the country that votes for the Democrat candidate because of emotional things and not because of logic.
Yeah, and the ads are better, and the sometimes the candidate of either party lies a little better to get in office, and then things change. But then you got to ask yourself, well, how did they do when they were there? It's kind of a train wreck right now. I think it's kind of obvious. Someone may disagree, and you may think the current president's doing a great job. Should you ever vote for a Christian candidate? Call us at 866-34-TRUTH. More coming up. Thank you, Chase, for your call.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Okay, it's heating up in here. The election day is here in North Carolina, some other states. It's a big Super Tuesday primary day. A simple question we're asking all hour long: how should Christians vote? A, and B, is it okay to vote for a non-Christian? We have some great folks weigh in. As you can see, Nick, I'm writing these down. I'm writing down what people say. I love the callers. I learn a lot from our amazing callers of Truth Talk Live listeners. Get our newsletter to tell you all the cool things. Pictures from NRB. We just recently celebrated 25 years at the Religious Broadcasters Convention. It's real simple. Newsletter at truthnetwork.com. Email that right now, and Morgan will put you on there, and you'll get our cool monthly newsletter with all some neat stuff about. You'll meet some people you hear a lot on the radio. You'll be able to kind of put a face with the voice. Our number is 866-34-TRUTH. If you want to phone in nationwide on Truth Talk Live, 866-348-7884. Is it ever okay for a Christian to vote for a non-Christian? How to go out there for you in the states that we're voting. You need some roving reporters. Give me an update. How crowded was it? I voted, and it was like a breeze. I walked in, easy peasy, signed up, showed my ID, voted, walked out. I was in maybe 2 minutes max. So, want to hear from you. Want to go to Ohio, another caller from 106.5 FM. Let's go to Buxman, and he is on Truth Talk Live. Jump in here, sir.
Hey, thanks so much, Stu, and I love that conversation you had with Eric Metaxas, Stu. Awesome stuff, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, he was pretty. I was thinking that Metaxas, Jeffries, Jack Graham. I was thinking they'd be a little more, diplomatic. Well, at least Trump. But they were like all on. They this is a no-brainer. Like if you're a believer and you have any sense about you, vote for this guy. But there's a whole contingent of people out there, Russ Moore and others, who are anti-Trump. They wouldn't vote for Trump if he was the only guy on the ballot, and they're actually out there trashing him, saying don't ever go near him. So what do you say, Buxman? What if a Trump follower says, well, you're not even a Christian if you don't vote for our guy? How do you reply to that?
That last statement that you're not a Christian, Jesus Christ is the one who decides whether we're Christians or not, and whether we're obeying him, Stu. John 3:36. It has nothing to do with the president of the United States of America when it comes to that.
Okay, so would you vote for a non-Christian if you go to the ballot and there's two folks on that ballot? One's a Christian, or both are non-Christians. Would you vote for one?
I wish I could easily answer that, but you're talking to a man, Stu, who does his research.
Okay.
So I researched Donald Trump in 2016, and basically, brother, I boiled it down to Hillary and him. Hillary had blood on her hands because of what happened in Benghazi.
Yeah.
But Trump had his hands on some females in the, in the Miss America pageant thing, and at least he didn't kill anybody. And I hate to say it, Stu, I had to go, well, at least Mr. Trump, as far as I know in my research, he did not allow people to die on any of his watch.
Okay.
So that's why I pulled the lever in 2016, sir.
Well, in 2020, a whole bunch of quote unquote Christians voted for Joe Biden, and because he was the nice guy and Trump was the mean guy.
And so remember they had all those problems about him tweeting.
Yeah.
Remember he would fire all those tweets that sort of offended the Christian community.
So is this going to be is this election going to be a rerun of that? I guess that we'll wait and see. But Buxman, he weighs in, folks. He says he did his research and that's helped him through the process. I appreciate your call, sir. God bless you. All right, yes, sir. Thank you. 866-34-TRUTH. Maybe you've done your research and you want to educate us all on this and your thoughts on this. Should a Christian ever vote for a non-Christian for political office? What about that? 866-348-7884. And I hope you stay tuned to the end of the show because I'm gonna shake some things up even more, and I'm gonna answer that question, but I'm not gonna do it till I get some wise callers on either side. I want to hear from you, whatever party you're affiliated with, whatever you think. Maybe you think, hey, I wouldn't vote for Donald Trump if he gave me $1 million, or maybe you'd say that about the Democrats too. Maybe you're kind of upset on against that side of the spectrum. I want to hear from you at 866-348-7884. Those of you who did vote, love to hear how you voted and why. And Christians in voting, how important is that? Should Christians vote? How should Christians vote? So we're going to go back to Ohio. A lot of action in Ohio today. Let's talk to Maureen. You're on Truth Talk Live with Stu.
Hi, Stu. How are you?
Fantastic.
Okay, so in regards to the question, should a Christian vote for a non-Christian if that's all their choice is? And my opinion is yes.
Okay.
It's our civic duty to do our best to make sure that the best possible person is running the country. There are non-Christians that have a high moral standard. Like your last caller said, you need to do your research and we need to vote. Yeah, but let's
so Marie, and I got other callers calling in, and if you want to grab a line, it's 866-348-7884. And dare I ask this question? What if you go to vote for a non-Christian that everybody else is calling a Christian? Because I hate to say religious left, but one of the things they hate so much about Donald Trump is the religious right are calling him a Christian. And for that reason, they're like, I ain't voting for him because I don't want those people to create the narrative. I don't like what they say. I don't like the fact they're calling him a Christian. So I'm therefore, and that's exactly what happened in 2020. I mean, a bunch of people of faith came out militantly against Trump, and they were people of faith. And so they voted for the pro-choice, pro-death guy, kind of destroy our country guy. We've seen that happen, even though he's not really running things, but the people running him are, it's falling apart. And that's not, by the way, you will not hear one word of my mouth knocking, making fun, or cutting Joe Biden for his health, for his slurs, for his slips. I think it's disgraceful for anyone to make fun of an older guy like that who does have some issues with his health. It's horrible. You need to, folks, this is where we go wrong. Well, he doesn't know where he is. Quit saying that. Just stop it. Talk about the issues and the policy. Because the same people are going to the other side and say, well, this guy's mean and vulgar, so I'm not voting for him. So let's get a nicer version of this guy who's currently the president. Let's get Gavin Newsom. You like him? He's probably a better liar than the current guy. So, vote for him. He's got a beautiful smile. I mean, he's only destroyed California. They're only in trillions of dollars of debt. I mean, why not him? I mean, he's nice. The optics are nice. His commercials are going to be sensational. But you see what happens when you start cutting people personally? And it bothers me to no end. I'm sorry to get on that. I didn't plan on talking about that, chasing that rabbit. But Maureen, I think you make a good point. You look at both candidates and you look at what you don't go without, you don't go into the voting booth without your faith. You vote your faith. You can't divorce it from how you vote.
Correct.
So, well, I appreciate your call. We'll take some more calls on this. God bless you. Listening in Ohio to the new 106.5 FM. If you want to weigh in, this talk show host, Nick, you may have to come in here and smack me. You're just going to calm me down. But I do get upset. I get upset when believers, make fun of Joe Biden. Come on, he's your president, okay? Be upset with his policies, which are evil. Be upset with the stuff he's for, which is horrible. But don't go making fun of an older guy, okay? It doesn't make you look good. It doesn't honor God at all, okay? So stay on the issues. And the same thing's true as on the other side. And there's a whole lot of people. There's people that would say, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're not a Christian. There are people that say that on the left that are believers. And then there's people on the right who say, you're not a believer if you don't vote for Donald J. Trump. How do you reconcile that? Wow. That's why I'm asking you the question and taking your calls right now. 866-34-TRUTH. Let's talk to Deborah. Deborah, you are a North Carolina caller. Did you get a chance to vote today? Have you got your sticker? I got my big sticker right here on across the shirt for my Truth Network logo.
I voted early election. I voted on Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, good for you. And so you missed the crowds, and there weren't a lot of crowds where I went, but maybe it was crowded elsewhere. I'm trying to get some more reports. But what about this, Deborah? Ever okay to vote for a non-Christian candidate?
Yeah. So Scripture says you should know them by their fruit, not by their personality.
Okay.
So I think I agree with the previous caller saying, yes, you should do your research.
Yeah.
And based upon what Trump did when he was in office before and what he did as a businessman, he's about making the country fiscally sound, protecting it, and also protecting the Christian rights of being pro-life. So those are some issues that were important to me.
Yeah, well, and I think that's well stated. I think the tricky part is there are people that hate Donald Trump so much that no matter the fact that there were no world wars during his regime, the fact that he fought for life, that he appointed some solid judges who were pro-life, the fact that he moved the Israel embassy to Tel Aviv and from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and did some things he said he would do, but they say, look, we wouldn't vote for this guy to save our life. The Christians are so against him, and I want maybe someone could tell me why that is, and tell me, and because they say, well, he's not a Christian.
Personality.
Okay, the personality. Okay,
you can be abrasive,
Oh yeah, and he is. I mean, I'm not defending any of that. Believe me,
he's a bull in the china shop. But you can also be charming and be deceitful.
There you go. 866-34-TRUTH. Weigh in. Join Deborah and all our callers on Truth Talk Live. More coming up after this. Hang on.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
The election is heating up, and Truth Talk Live is right in the middle of it, and what a hornet's nest it is. Question all hour long. Should a believer ever vote for a non-believer? How should Christians vote? We're going to be talking about this a whole lot. I'm going to tell you who I'm voting for, by the way, for my health, and we're going to get these phone lines if you want to join in. The number is 866-34-TRUTH. But I'm voting for our friends at Mighty Muscadine. I've taken 4 capsules a day of this product for over a decade, and it has been a lifesaver. I'm still playing full-court basketball, running the courts, and it's just loaded with antioxidants. The muscadine grape is the nation's first grape discovered by Sir Walter Raleigh. The mother vine's still producing grapes. It's the state fruit of North Carolina. And if you haven't checked out their products yet, if you care about your health, if you don't care about your health, don't worry about it. But if you care about your health and fighting the toxins and boosting your immune system, then I want to say a big, loud, fat thank you to Mighty Muscadine for helping me with that. Their website is mightymuscadine.com. The promo code is TRUTH for extra savings. They don't sell the sizzle and the fluff. They sell the science. They've spent millions have been spent at a major medical institution testing their product. It is the real deal. Check out the science at mightymuscadine.com. And if you enter promo code TRUTH, order anything, the delicious Vine-tastic, no sugar, no carb, no calorie drink. You can order that there. You can also order the delicious muscadine juice right from the vine. You can order the amazing lotions, the toothpaste that has no fluoride, and all the antioxidant products, energy shots. I take one almost every time before I go play ball. Give me a little energy, all the energy of 5-hour energy without the chemicals. Isn't that nice? And then they have a phone number if you would prefer to call them. It's area code 336-998-2894. 336-998-2894. Please tell them Stu told you to call them, and please support this wonderful partner and take care of your family's health. You'll be amazed at how healthy your family is compared to other folks that are constantly getting stuff thrown around. It's that time of year. You got to watch that. MightyMuscadine.com. Promo code TRUTH. Thank you, Jerry and Candy and Judy and Kathy and Brock and the wonderful team there at Mighty Muscadine. The same folks that bring us LeBlue Ultra Pure Bottled Water. We're going back to the phone line. Should a Christian ever vote for a non-Christian? How should a Christian vote to take it up even higher in this final segment of Truth Talk Live? And the number's 866-34-TRUTH, 866-348-7884. We're going to go to Greg, another North Carolina caller. Greg, you been out voting today, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Voted this morning before I went to work.
I like it. You got your sticker on?
Yeah, I got my sticker on my rearview mirror, so I can remember I voted.
Okay. His voting is in the rearview mirror. Now he's moving forward.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, what do you think, Greg? What about this idea of voting for? I mean, you may have voted. You may have punched a ballot this morning for someone that's not a believer, or who claims to be a believer, or others say he is, or others say he's not. Well, how do you feel about that?
I don't think, the Lord said, how can two walk together unless they be agreed? And I think the biggest problem that we have in the United States and in our state alone is we have currently a governor that claims to be a Christian, but as you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears, he's not borne any kind of good fruit.
Yeah, he's the most pro-death, pro-anti-family governor we've ever had. But he's so sweet.
Yeah.
He's so kind.
Yeah, he's such a sweet
And
smile.
a lot of believers didn't go out and vote for his opponent, who was a very outspoken evangelical, who was very pro-life and pro-marriage,
exactly.
who would have been amazing, but they voted for the nice man, the nice grandfatherly guy.
And he was his opponent was a great guy.
Yeah, it's
I heard
sad.
him in several interviews that I was floored when he lost.
Okay, now I got to go. I got two mics holding on. I want to go to them, and I want to give the number. It's 866-34-TRUTH. We have a few minutes left. 866-348-7884. I wanted to ask a question of our last caller, Greg. If you had, and maybe I'll ask this of Mike, our next caller. We got two of them, so if he strikes out, we got Mike number 2. But hop in here, Mike. Let's get him on from Dayton, Ohio. Mike, would you go to a doctor? Say he's the best guy. You got real problems with your heart. He's the best heart guy around, but he's a bit of a vulgar unbeliever. Would you go to him?
In a minute.
Well, what if the other? But hold on now a second. What if the other doctor down the hall is not quite as good, doesn't have a success rate like that, but he's a sweet Christian guy? Sweet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well, Stu. Is who's doing the best job? I'm an arrogant carpenter. I think I'm one of the best carpenters in the area. And
there he just let it right out. Well, listen, I happen to follow a Jewish carpenter. So that's not such a bad thing.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. and my son says, Dad, you can't be that way. And I says, okay, somebody prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And that's my personality, and my son's personality is different.
Yeah, but the thing is,
different.
but like to run down your opponent. Like I told one of the faith counselors, direct counselor that talks to Trump all the time. I said, look, tell the guy he doesn't need to badmouth Nikki Haley. He doesn't need to badmouth his opponent. Tony Dungy wins a Super Bowl ring, didn't cuss one time, wasn't vulgar, wasn't arrogant, outwardly, and he compliments the other coach. Hey, those guys did a good job. They fought hard. Hats off to the other team. I mean, you can't. Some of these Trump folks, God bless them, I know them, they're like, just implacable on that. Yep. They're like, well, everyone's so mean to him, he's got to kick back. Well, I don't know. I saw Dungy win a Super Bowl, and he didn't hit like that. But it's a rough, dogged fight, but you may find yourself voting for an unbeliever in the election.
Yes,
Is that so bad?
Yes, you got to vote for the best person, not with your emotions.
Okay, calling from the Buckeye State. Okay, thank you, Mike, for your call. 866-34-TRUTH. Got time for a couple more quick callers. 866-348-7884. Ever okay to vote for a non-Christian if you're a believer? And what if we get into all this stuff about what is your doctor, is your landscaper, is your dentist, a non-believer? And these politicians, most of them kind of hit that religion button, when it gets closer to election day, don't they? And then who knows what happens after. Let's go to Raleigh caller. Mike, you're on the air on Truth Talk Live with Stu.
Hi.
Jump on in here.
Hi, thanks, Stu. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like one caller said, you have to do your research. And, like Greg said, you got to judge a candidate by, his actions. And to the extent that we can, we should try to find out, what they stand for, their record. I will say that Trump's grandmother was very involved in the Hebrides revival, and we can't judge someone, for their words.
Yeah,
I married a person from that area. I understand how they are. They're very much in your face. They mean well. Their heart is right, but I will say I would not vote for someone who violates my Christian principles. I think the Lord tells us clearly.
So you're putting policy in front of personality.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Because it's interesting. I've had two people I hold in high regard tell me I could never vote for a guy who talks that way because I don't want my children talking that way. And he pushed the button for Biden, Christian guy, and another guy who's a pastor. I could never vote for a guy who makes fun of people like he did, and especially special needs people. He's like, I can't take that. I'm like, you know what? I sympathize with that, but I'm not going off calling him a Christian. That's why I did this whole show. That's how non-Christians act. And let me tell you what else non-Christians do. Non-Christians support killing our young. Non-Christians support fentanyl and human trafficking and abusive rape and murder. Allow this murder of this little girl at Georgia's campus, in Georgia, to be killed. They allow this policy, and they've allowed all these wars to happen. And so if you got two non-believers on the ballot, and which one do you pick? If you're a Christian, you're like, you know what? I'm going to write Billy Graham's name in there. I'm going to write my pastor's name. I had a guy call me today. He said, Stu, I wish you were running. I'm like, that's the problem with how you think about things. I mean, a vote for Stu is a vote for you, Mike. Just tuck that away if I ever do. Throw my hat in the ring. I'm just kidding.
Right.
But you think about that's how people think. It's like, well, he's a believer. Well, I heard him quote a verse one time. Well, look, this is if you would go to a non-believing doctor, if you would get an MBA program from a non-believing professor who's a genius, who's going to equip you to go in and be a redemptive business guy or gal. If you would have, we're in this world, but not to be of it. And so does not the same thing apply to go into the ballot box as believers, where you're going to have, it's going to be I hate to say this, I hate this phrase, but the better of two evils.
I think as much as possible, we need to go with character.
Yeah, character.
Character.
Yeah. And then you got two guys that don't have character, but they're characters. And how do you vote there? And you got, like you said, you do your research and you vote based on policy and who's going to fight for the helpless unborn who are being murdered in our country. Who's going to fight for life? Right. Who's going to protect the country and protect the rule of law? Because if you break laws coming in, then you can pretty much, like they're doing all over New York and all over the country, they're breaking laws now that they're here. And yes, they need the gospel. And yes, we should share the Lord with them. But the laws they're breaking when they come in now, that they broke in that first law, there's not enough law enforcement to contain them. So that's a repercussion. Elections have consequences. And there may not be much left of this country by the time the main election gets in here. We better pray hard about that. Mike, thanks for your call. God bless you.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. My final word here is this: we live in the world, not of it. And you're gonna go. You got a doctor. You're gonna go with a mechanic. You want to go with a mechanic who might be a little bit rough around the edges. He gets that car fixed. The guy who's maybe the church going guy may do a horrible job. May have a bad reputation. I don't know. So you go. You vote. You vote your faith. We're going to do a lot of programs on this. You don't divorce your faith from how you vote and who you vote for. Most important election, by the way, is in 2 Peter 1, where he says, make your calling and election sure and add to your faith. And I love that passage because Peter's saying, look, are you growing closer to Christ? And by the way, as you grow closer to Christ, he gives you wisdom on these things, and he gives you grace. And by the way, anti-Trump haters, don't be so hateful. And pray and ask yourself, does this guy, is he, though vulgar, though maybe even an unbeliever, is this guy going to fight for life? Is he going to represent a biblical policy? Forget personality. For you pro-Trump people, lighten your tone down, but quit being so angry and quit connecting the faith with Trump. And if you don't vote for him, you're not a Christian. We got to have grace in both areas, because you know what Peter said. He said also grow in grace and express grace in this area, okay? And have some good conversations. What's wrong with that? That's why we have Truth Talk Live. God bless you.
Another program powered by the Truth Network.